What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 20, our Jared Stroud episode. Shout out Jared Stroud, now a member of St. Louis City SC. Also, for those basketball fans out there, our Manu Ginobili episode. My name is Zach Graham, a.k.a. Kawaisenberg, DFS on Twitter, joined by my good buddy, on record as my best friend. It's Ian Michaud, a.k.a. E, a.k.a. Le James, a.k.a. Sebastian Driussi, a.k.a. Eastradamus, a.k.a. Pap E. Oh, Daniel E. Another afternoon pod recording for us, this time on a Tuesday, recording here in the second half of the final round of 16 match out there at the World Cup. We'll talk World Cup here in a little bit, but first, how are you doing today on this Tuesday, December 6th?
Tuesday, December 6th, I'm doing well. Looks like we got the 7 cold days of winter out of the way for Texas.
Yeah.
Sun is shining, so that's always good. Doing well. Excited to talk some soccer here. We don't got a ton of Austin FC news to report on, but like we said a couple episodes ago, soccer clearly just doesn't stop, and there's always something to talk about, and World Cup's been great, so looking forward to discussing that and, doing our thing a little bit,
Yeah, absolutely. No crazy brackets or drafts or rankings of anything this week. Maybe some of that next time, but like you mentioned, very quiet on the Verde front here since we last convened. No real news to report. Like we talked 2 episodes ago about the Driussi Zardes rumor. Last episode we kind of touched on where is Zardes? Like we kind of expected that deal to be done. Yep. And I think we said last time as well, we expected it to be done now, even more so, and no further news there on the Zardes front. But I guess this marks maybe our 4th or 5th pod in a row of worrying about the Sebastian Driussi rumors about him going to Leeds, the interest from Leeds, other Premier League sides, some Bundesliga clubs, I believe, were included in that initial rumor. And I don't think we're 100% out of the woods yet, but an article did come out from what I believe is Diario Ole, I believe is the outlet that Sabah gave the interview to here. And we'll just pull this one quote that has been kind of making the rounds over the last 24 hours on the Austin FC socials, not the official socials, right? But your Reddits. I think you maybe saw this. You're Reddit man, on Twitter, man. I certainly saw this Reddit on Twitter. Sabah saying in this interview, obviously, I plan to return to River, that being River Plate. River Plate, who is coming to Austin in January to take on Monterrey. In a friendly there. So he says it's something I always keep on my mind, going back to River. That's again for the uninitiated, that's where he started his professional career, home in Argentina. That's his boyhood club. I believe he has a River, a tattoo of their crest. Yep. I think on his leg. So he says, I don't think this is the right moment because I'm fine in the United States with my family and in football, which is the most important thing, those 2 things. And he says, I hope to continue sometime beyond, continue here in the United States. So certainly the words that we want to hear. Yeah. But I know for me, I will feel confident when I see him in training camp in January. Until then, I'm still going to kind of be on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if this was anybody else, we would be like, okay, he's 100% coming back. Right. It's just the fear of actually losing him. But yeah, that quote, honestly, if it's taken right on face value there, it's, I'm staying here no matter what is really being offered.
Right.
And then I'll make decisions once I feel, completed here, my work is done, or, my career is coming to a tail end, to an end. But this stuff changes, so much. And I mean, especially nowadays, with how much, these interviews are broken down and how blurbs and clips and comments and quotes are all taken, to try to get as much like shock value as possible. That these guys, they have to do kind of this rounds of, I'm here, I'm committed to all this and everything. But, the addition of my family life as well felt good to me too.
Yeah.
Because that's the two things we got going for us here. We're obviously on the up and up, and he seems to be settled, as we've known for some time now, and that's great news. I feel really good that we don't have much to worry about, unless Leeds comes out here with some Cristiano Ronaldo Saudi. I think we'll be all right.
Cristiano Ronaldo, who, as we speak, just came off the bench for Portugal. Portugal up 5-1 against the Swiss there. So maybe addition by subtraction, putting Ronaldo on the bench there. And as you mentioned, I believe, I don't know off the top of my head what the Saudi club's name is that signed him.
It's like Al Nassr.
I think you are in the neighborhood at least there, but $200 million per year for Cristiano. That's some Saudi money, I think, right?
That's good business for him.
Yeah, no question. So I guess, we can put to bed any rumors, maybe not rumors, but the wishful thinking of a few Austin FC fans who I think, would have loved to see him here, and talent wise, sure. For me, like if we're looking for our first,
don't do this,
quote unquote retirement signing, right?
Don't do this, man.
We're gonna have one at some point, right?
Okay. And you don't want it to be like the greatest soccer player of all time.
No, I would be fine with that.
Okay.
But I do like. I would have concerns. Like there are plenty of red flags with Cristiano Ronaldo on and off the pitch. Like his relationship with his former club, with his national team, has soured in both places. We don't need to get into the allegations that he had here. I think that also may be playing a part in why he isn't coming stateside. I'm not sure, but too much Ronaldo talk here. Okay. Well, you make the face. You're familiar with the whole rape thing with Cristiano.
Yeah, no, I don't think that we're the ones who are going to be like, nah, he can't.
No, I'm saying maybe that's why he wasn't. Maybe that's why he didn't necessarily want to come here with his next move. Obviously, $200 million is probably the biggest reason, but just in that whole process for him, right? Like there's probably going to be more attention paid to his past off-field transgressions in the United States compared to Saudi Arabia. That's just a hunch that I have. So maybe that played a part.
Okay. Shitting on Saudi Arabia. Here we go.
Is that allowed? I feel like that's okay.
We're going to get canceled.
Well, let's focus more on MLS and the MLS news that has broken since last week. Because last week we had some Austin news to talk about. We're still talking Driussi, Zardes, etc. And we didn't have anything really outside of the Alistair Johnson transfer to talk about with MLS news. We have what amounts to a laundry list of news items here. The first one I wanted to touch on, Ian, and maybe it's a little, some of these are a little spicy in the MLS universe. This one being actually a coaching move.
Okay.
Wilfried Nancy, who was the manager at CF Montreal, right? So obviously a fantastic season. What they've been building there, culminating in a third place finish in the Supporter Shield after I think not winning a match until April. They went on an absolute tear.
Were they hurt early?
They were in CCO. So if you could, looking at what happened to Seattle after their run, obviously if Austin was able to lift the cup, I will sacrifice the MLS season and the other two, to win the Champions League. But we've clearly, Montreal is just another example of what that participating in that early season tournament can do to, your regular season slate and the success there early in the season. But so Nancy, hired as manager of the Columbus Crew.
Oh.
And so reportedly, obviously leaving Montreal, they reached an undisclosed financial agreement, which is very MLS, right?
Shit is like the mafia.
Yeah. An undisclosed financial agreement because Nancy was under contract through this coming 2023 season.
Okay.
And again, was a finalist for Coach of the Year last year. Montreal CEO and president said, despite the club's effort to have Wilfred continue our project, we were forced to accept his decision to leave the organization. We want people who want to be with us, and Wilfred has chosen a different path. So, like, I'm not going to say that's like Dan Gilbert Comic Sans style, but that's certainly not like, hey, we wish him well, right?
Yeah, no, it clearly makes it clear that they wanted him back, and he is probably making a financial decision here.
Yeah, no question.
Or I think that's what it boils down to. Columbus Crew, interesting. I heard that they don't, like when people take their stuff. taking other people's stuff now, huh?
As well. Yeah, I have heard that as well.
Thing, man.
So yeah, I think you're probably spot on there that he's probably getting compensated a little bit more handsomely at Columbus. That's probably a big reason why he was lured away. But I think we've touched on it before a little bit, like we talked about Alistair Johnson and his move. But this team has also lost Georgi Mihailovic. We knew that a few months ago with his transfer to AZ Alkmaar. That was a $6 million transfer. Victor Wanyama, who, very, very close name-wise to one of our favorite guys. Victor Wanyama was their only DP last year. His contract has expired. We talked about the Johnston move to Celtic last pod. And then Ish Kone, kind of the young Canadian phenom, one of those guys that was over in Qatar with the Canadian team. Kone to Watford. It's not finalized yet, the financials, but it's reported between $8 and $10 million fee coming back to Montreal. So Montreal doing very good business with their young players, selling them on to more established clubs and leagues and taking in those transfer fees. But maybe another big factor in why Nancy wanted to get out, because a lot of his young talent is now gone.
A good point. A very valid point.
So, and I think this is just something that we haven't had to deal with yet. And like, obviously Driussi is the closest we've come to it, but like the fact that MLS has become over the last few years, or is still trying to transition into like this developmental selling league, acquire the young talent, develop them for a few years and then sell them on to better clubs. And that's going to raise the profile of the league to bring that talent here, because, if we get that, you have that rep around the world of being able to take a 19 or 20-year-old high profile prospect, and at 22 or 23, they have reached maybe not one, but 2, 3 more, higher levels of talent and production, selling them on. Like, that's going to be very attractive to those type of players. So
I agree. And
it's good business, right? But like, I think this is just an example of how things can shift so dramatically for a franchise in this league because of the way we're trending, right?
Yeah. I mean, the cornerstones for most franchises are, you want to get young, talented players, hold on to them, and then you build your team around them. Yeah. And it is a very good thing for the league. It's a tough thing that teams are going to have to navigate. Obviously, like you said, you're losing, top tier names in MLS to, larger, more established world clubs.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about the downside there a little bit for like the teams, but it's great to hear about the 19-year-old who comes up through, Barcelona's entire club and works his way onto the field at the age of 19. He's a phenom. But for every one of those guys, how many players are there who, don't get their chance at those larger clubs, but are still incredibly talented players that you can get over here now? Financially. What's that?
I said Ricky Pooch.
Yeah, for sure. You can get them over here, financially keep them secure, also guarantee them, the chance to play. Because at the end of the day, if you can be as good as you want, but if you're stuck behind 3 of the greatest players in the world,
Yeah.
Nobody's getting to see you.
Mm-hmm. You're not going
So,
to develop.
yeah, absolutely. And you need that real time, real game exposure to playing also grown men.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a good way for the league to position itself in this kind of global market of soccer. It's interesting that it's like, we get these guys at the tail ends of their career, the older ones, and now we're losing the
younger guys,
younger ones to those other clubs where they were coming from initially.
Right.
So yeah, and like you said, it's always an exciting time for MLS and soccer in general in this country.
Yeah, and I think kind of tying that larger league discussion back into Austin FC and what we should expect in the future. Like, we are going to have an off season at some point in the coming years where our favorite 3 or 4 players, whether they're the best, most talented players on the roster or not, but there's going to be an off season where we lose core guys and got multiple players in that category or of that caliber. And I think as long it's gonna suck because we don't you don't have that same type of experience typically in NFL, NBA. It's a little bit more slow moving in terms of a single team losing so many players, key players at that. But I think it's just a part of the cycle that we have to get used to because I read off, right, 6 million for Mihailovic, 8 to 10 for Kone. I think it was 4 for Johnston. That's a lot of money that club can then turn around and fire on, younger players that are high, high valued prospects, etc. So it's just again, it's the cycle that I think I'm certainly not used to yet. Watching other teams go through it, I don't think, even though we know it's going to happen, I don't think I'm going to be ready for it when it happens for us. But again, we talked about during the season, trying to keep that perspective. When it does happen for us, keeping that perspective, as long as, we're not selling Driussi for 8 million, right? Yeah. If you're getting that 15, that maybe 20 and doubling what you acquired him for, then that's, like you said, it's good business and it may be not good emotional business, but you can't have the emotions when you're trying to build a winning club in this league and adjusting to how you have to position yourself to win in this league.
Well, I think you'll be more adequately able to handle it than I.
You think so?
Well, yeah. I mean, as a LeBron mercenary, if my best player leaves, I go with them. So it works. I don't.
That's a good point.
Around and wallow.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Hopefully, on the bigger and better things usually for me. So we'll see.
Some other news, Charlotte FC, so kind of our expansion brethren coming in the year after us on their maiden voyage through MLS. Charlotte FC, verbal agreement, so not signed, sealed, and delivered yet, but a verbal agreement to sign the forward from Racing Club, Enzo Copetti. He's 26 years old, 25 appearances for Racing Club this season, 11 goals, 4 assists. It's a $6 million fee for Charlotte FC to acquire Copetti. So I think, just looking a little bit, obviously unfamiliar with this player until I saw this news come through, but looks like a really, really solid piece to a young club that needs those type of guys. I'm not going to sit here and compare this guy to Driussi, right? But 26 the transfer fee is very similar. It was 6-7 for Driussi, 6 for Copetti here in a young club. 26. This guy's clearly entering his athletic prime. So to me, that was a big signing, and I imagine that the Charlotte fans are pretty pumped up about that. I
think they should be for sure. The first thing that came to my mind was the comparisons to Seba that you just touched on there. But yeah, I think they should be excited. Again, exciting for the league. That was a pretty eloquent intro you just gave them. Our expansion brethren, their maiden voyage. Impressive. I'm gonna reach into that vocab grab bag for a second there. You were doing
we talked about the Portland Timbers and the reported deal that they had with Evander from that Dutch club that I had so much trouble. Both of us, I think I spelled it out for you last time, right? I actually looked up the pronunciation this time. It's FC Midtjylland. And again, that is spelled Midtjylland. Yeah.
Like the tires? Michelin?
Yeah, but like Mitchu, like CHU almost, like Mitchulin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michelin.
Anyway, so Evander, that deal is completed. Now it's a $10 million fee. Again, Evander leading the Europa League in assists. He is the 8th most expensive incoming transfer in MLS history. And that is tied for 8th with a trio of former U.S. men's national team players. And all 3 of these guys were acquired by Toronto FC. Michael Bradley, Jermaine Defoe, and Josie Altidore.
Okay.
So in terms of quality of player, obviously it's years later now, but Evander certainly going to be a big spot playing the 10 for Portland. We'll be very familiar with him by this time next year, with him being in the Western Conference. Orlando City, a little bit of business here, outgoing business though. And I guess it's really not business for Orlando City because João Moutinho, the defender there, was out of contract. So I don't believe Orlando will see any sort of, kickback for this deal. But Moutinho leaves MLS to sign with, again, maybe going to butcher this, Spezia in Serie A, right? So Italian first league side there. Again, Moutinho is out of contract. He's 24 years old. And this is a guy who was the first overall pick in the 2018 Super Draft by LAFC. So if I'm not mistaken, that was their first ever draft pick, was João Moutinho. 86 career MLS appearances, now leaving for Serie A. I guess all that made me think about was like, I hope that obviously he was an LAFC draft pick, and I'm not sure how he ended up on Orlando, if it was a trade or loan or what happened there.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to tell you, I hope Danny Pereira doesn't, go somewhere else in MLS before he leaves, because I do think Danny Pereira is a player that is going to end up going overseas at some point. I just hope it is coming from Austin FC, and that it's not that he's out of contract. It's that we get something back for him, whether transfer fee or what have you. But I just thought that was interesting, again, because this is a player that we have a comparable for on our roster. So I thought that was a kind of an interesting acquisition or outgoing player, I guess, right? Not really a MLS transaction there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player.
Yeah. I mean, we had trouble with him, and he was a big reason why, even down 2 men, Austin barely managed that draw at home back in the summer. He was part of that back line that was really bunkering down and almost pulled out the upset win there. Another kind of youth piece of news here: Red Bulls signed U.S. Youth International left back Curtis Ofori. And this is going to be a homegrown deal for Ofori with the Red Bulls. Ofori turned 17 last month and has already been playing in the USL Championship division. So, he's playing on that SAFC type, or that same league, that same level. He's got 41 USL appearances. Just seems like highly rated prospect that going to a team that has clearly shown the ability to develop young talent and send them overseas. So it seems like a name to watch.
I agree.
Last one here, a little bit closer to home. FC Dallas making their first signing of the offseason, Sebastian Ibeagha. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because we saw him with LAFC, and he started MLS Cup for LAFC. So the champ coming over to Dallas, only 19 appearances for LAFC last year. He was in a backup role. Obviously, they brought Giorgio Chiellini over mid-season. Eddie Segura was already in that starting role. So Ibeagha was kind of their fourth option at center back, but I think he's much better than that in terms of his quality. 19 appearances, 13 starts for LAFC last season. He's coming back to Texas. He was born in Nigeria, but actually grew up in Houston and came up through the Dynamo's academy. So I guess your thoughts on Ibeagha, and then we talked about Matt Hedges before. Still has not signed anywhere. Do you think this means? Does this mean to you Matt Hedges is no longer going to be a member of FC Dallas?
I really don't know how to view that situation, just given who it is.
Mm-hmm. The history with the club between Hedges and
and I agree. Ibeagha is better than a backup defender in this league, and he should have his opportunity there with that team. I think that's it's not a splash, but it's a good signing, and it's a good pull away from a rival Western Conference foe.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
I think this is something I learned actually this morning about FC Dallas last season. So our first season in MLS, Austin FC's, I should say, FC Dallas had nobody on their roster that had played for another MLS club.
Wow.
Yeah, which is crazy to me. So obviously that changed this past year when they acquired Paul Arriola, Marco Farfan, traded for Sebastian Lletget midseason. So obviously with their new coach came kind of a new style of roster building. And it clearly did them well last season, finishing right behind the Verde and Black. Also, FC Dallas reportedly still interested in bringing Matt Hedges back, but he has apparently Matt Hedges has still interest from numerous clubs and has been confirmed to have visited FC Cincinnati and Toronto FC. So he's clearly looking around at his options. This was something that I didn't see super widely reported, and I'm probably making a bigger deal out of it than it needs to be.
Okay.
But
sounds like
MLS has sanctioned the LA Galaxy.
Ooh.
Following an investigation surrounding the signing of Christian Pavone, and he was added to the roster as a TAM player in 2019. So I'm not sure what the Galaxy were in violation of here. Probably spending too much money, like allocation money they didn't have, something.
Yeah.
The result of it, Chris Klein, the sporting director, who's functionally the GM if you're coming from other sports, Chris Klein suspended through May of 2023. So this season, they lost $1 million in GAM with the sanctions, and were also fined an additional $1 million. Greg Vanny, former player and coach there for the Galaxy, will be the interim sporting director until Klein serves his suspension through May. So obviously that's a no-no, Galaxy. We're watching you. And I think the thing, I guess, talk to me about your thoughts upon hearing that. And then, because I think so, do you think an investigation is coming into the moves LAFC made last year, signing guys like Gareth Bale to TAM deals? Because that just, it seemed a little fishy at the time financially to me. Whatever sort of cap gymnastics they're doing there, maybe an investigation to follow. I don't know. I've got the tinfoil hat on as per usual. What do you think about all that?
I mean, I don't really have a benchmark for the suspension, but that sounds pretty substantial.
Yeah,
that is a large portion of the season.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's probably more important that it's the off season, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I don't really have a benchmark for it, so I don't know how to react. It seems substantial. $1 million fine also seems quite substantial when we talked about, the figures they have allocated for this GAM and TAM roster spots.
Yeah.
In regard to the signing with Bale and the stuff they did this year, I don't know. You know more about the cap and the GAM and the TAM and
sure.
how much you can allocate to certain players given the interesting parameters, some known, some unknown. So yeah, I don't know. You might just be a little salty.
Yeah, I think that's probably, like, I see the opportunity to get the pitchfork out of the closet and, like, I'm ready.
He's got a closet full of them.
Yeah. So I guess before we move into some World Cup talk, I gathered a few of the remaining, what I think are probably viewed as the top free agents left. Just again on the MLS side, who knows? I can't speak to anybody that's being targeted outside MLS, but I think that the number one free agent, I should say, that would concern us. And I'm not the first person to mention this, far from it. I think just MLS media in general, Alex Collins from NYCFC, kind of their star center back, 30 years old, from Peru, probably the most high-profile player that's still available and at what I consider a position of need for us. I would be absolutely fine moving Julio Cascante to a reserve role. And, who knows what's going to go on with Romagna. Kip's here for the long haul. But, the fact that we can now put Kip Keller on the next pro team, to me, just leaves open the possibility that we would be looking for more center back help. And clearly, Collins is, the top, the cream of the crop in terms of what we have already here in the league available to go after. So I guess what are your thoughts there? Again, Collins is, I'm far from the first person to bring it up. I think Moon Tower also did. I think Landon said he was his top option. So if I can just borrow from him there, how would you feel about bringing in somebody like that at center back?
I mean, if y'all got some room for me on that bandwagon, I'll jump on there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and we're not here to, lay on Julio or any of our defenders.
Right.
But, it's clearly a spot that we need some more depth and more talent at. And if he's available, shoot, of course I'd love to have him. Like you said, we can get Kip down there, get him some more developmental time with the next pro team, and then have a much sturdier rotation there in the center of our defense. Ruben, I don't recall how old he is, but it surprised me when I saw it the first time. And I was like, oh, he's much older than I thought he was.
I want to say he's 32. He's 30 on the nose.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, he's a little older than I thought he was. And I mean, in soccer years, that's pretty substantial. So I think getting some more depth there would be excellent. Now, I don't know, like you said, who we could potentially be looking at from across the world, other leagues, wherever they may be. But it's still an area of need for us. And, hopefully the smoke pops for Driussi and we get that taken care of. And then, great. Secure some depth there. Again, another MLS veteran, a guy who's been around, who has experience, who knows how to play in this league, who could help our team in a variety of facets. We're obviously going to have a little bit. One thing I am interested in is we're obviously going to have a little bit of a void with Felipe leaving in regard to our culture and our leadership and our veterans and, like that. So I think
the shit housing.
Yeah. I mean, shit, it's part of the game, as we've seen in every single World Cup game. It's part of it. No matter the level, no matter where we're playing, no matter what tournament, it's part of the game. Yeah. You got to have someone who can do it.
Yeah. You need some of that edge.
Yeah. I mean, I remember in the Wales game after we, went up on it, I was like, damn, it'd be nice to bring Felipe in right now.
Yep. No question.
So yeah, I would like that for sure. I hope we're not done.
Yeah, I think there's no way we're done. And obviously we're going to have, I think, probably numerous acquisitions that are underwhelming on the surface because they're not first team signings. We still got to fill out that next pro roster. And some of that is going to come. Some of that's going to come from academy players, right? But some of it's going to come from us, acquiring guys like Ocampo Chavez. And I think Jeffel is probably going to be mostly first team. I think minutes wise, he's probably taking that Felipe role. Yeah. But to your point, I don't think Jeffel is bringing even half, he's bringing an ounce of what Felipe brought in terms of the shit housing, the culture, all the things that we all know Felipe brought to the table and why he was so important for the squad last year. I don't think that's what Jeffel's going to really bring to the table. So yeah, I'm with you. I think we need to find that, and it's going to have to come from somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about all season, how confident we were in our starting rotation in a lot of places. We loved our attack, and we said we'd put it up against anybody in the league.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we can't fill out the rest of this roster with able-bodied professionals who, can help us move towards a championship. And it is a bit of a conundrum for management with bringing in the right young guys, getting them the appropriate amount of time. Kip, obviously Jeff will coming in now, stuff like that. So, like you said, we aren't done. I shouldn't have said I hope we're not done. I know we're not done. I hope we're not done in regard to, the caliber of player that we've obviously been targeting.
Right. No, I'm 100% with you there. A couple other high caliber guys that I think we're probably not chasing. Another defender, I guess we could start with Aaron Long. I think we brought his name up before talking about free agents. He's been over with the U.S. team over there in Qatar. They're done. He did not appear. And I think that's for good reason because of how good our center backs need to be with their feet with the national team. We know we run pretty much the exact same thing here in Austin. So I think that's why he's probably not that high on the list. Also coming off the torn Achilles, he's 30 years old, tore his Achilles in 2021. So obviously really great to see him out there with Red Bulls this year and having success. But maybe not the splashy signing that we're going after here in Austin. Another guy that's over in Qatar, or probably, I don't know, those guys are probably home at this point. But Sean Johnson, the NYCFC goalkeeper, is 33 years old. He's a free agent. That's going to be a big pickup, whether he stays home in New York or wherever he goes. I mean, we were talking about him potentially being the catalyst for NYCFC making it to the Cup because of how good he was leading up to the playoffs and then through the first two rounds.
Facts.
John Osorio, Canadian midfielder, he spent 10 seasons with Toronto FC. He's 30 now. He is still a free agent. We talked about Matt Hedges. And then, of course, Gyasi Zardes, who we are keeping a close eye on. So I imagine next week we will have even more MLS news to sift through. Maybe some green smoke. Who knows?
Let's hope.
Let's talk about the World Cup, and we'll dive a little bit into the United States knockout match, the 3-1 defeat at the hands of the Netherlands. I know you had no hand in putting this tweet out. It was all me excited on Saturday, but I know we were talking about it on the last pod that we were a little down on Haji Wright's performance against Iran coming off the bench. Jesus Ferreira got the start with Josh Sargent on the shelf with an injury against the Netherlands. And I tweeted like, Jesus, like, let's go get him. And I was excited to see him get his chance. He did not deliver. So I guess how did you that? And it was interesting. We haven't talked about this. We were supposed to watch together. You didn't show up. So I guess watching separately, how did you feel about Ferreira's performance, which only lasted the first 45?
He was not great, for sure. And I don't think it can be overstated how much we missed Sargent there.
Yeah.
He is clearly a step above both of those guys, if not 2 steps above.
Sure.
He just his activity, we really missed him. And to his credit, Ferreira was not, I don't think he was set up to be successful, really. He hadn't played a minute. And then we throw him in versus the Netherlands. And then, boom, there's Virgil van Dijk. Okay, do your best there.
Right.
He was underwhelming. I wanted him to get his shot too. He's a player that I really like, a player who I think is really talented. And the Haji Wright stuff kind of still baffles me. Even that goal he got was baffling and kind of on par for Haji Wright. But I mean, overall, if we're looking at the squad, the team, how, the U.S. performed, I have nothing but really good things to say. We played Wales, we played England, we played Iran, we played the Netherlands. We lost 1 game. Yeah.
All top 25, I think all top 22 in the FIFA rankings.
We lost 1 game to those 4 teams. We had plenty of chances and besides the Netherlands game, pretty much chances, some really good chances everywhere.
Yeah.
Throughout the tournament. And this team's going to be back. We were the second youngest team in the Cup, the youngest team to survive into the knockout phase there. Berhalter said it, the country should be proud of this team, and I think that holds true for me. Yeah. They played well, and I mean, shit, we played a really good Netherlands team with some really, really, really good players, and yeah, they were the better team for sure.
Yeah, and talking about some of those really, really, really good players, I guess we can start with Denzel Dumfries, who 2 assists and a goal in this match. It was clearly a tactical priority for the Dutch to hit some of those, kind of cut back crossing balls once that, they get a chance down the wing. We saw it, I think, right, all 3 coming from that right wing, I believe. Where that U.S. back line, did an okay job, I think, marking the 2 or 3 runners that were initially going towards net on the chance. And they would just, kick it to that guy who was like almost Driussi-esque in terms of like being where the ball is going to be instead of where the ball is, right? And like being where the space is going to be rather than where it is. And that, like, it just... Yeah, obviously the Memphis Depay goal to open it up was, I don't know if gut punch is the right term. It was just kind of, okay, like we've been here before, down 1-0 on an early goal. And that was the first goal from open play that the team had allowed in 280 minutes of World Cup soccer this time around. So it certainly wasn't done after that first goal, but you talk about gut punch.
Yeah.
46th minute on what was probably literally the last touch of the half, another Dumfries kind of cross to the trailer, and it was Daley Blind who put it home that time. So going 2-0 into the half was like super deflating.
Yeah, especially considering, we've hung our hat on our defense throughout the cup.
Yep. And then, at the half, you finally see Gio Reyna come in. He replaces Ferreira. 67th minute, Brennan Aronson comes on for Tim Weah, who I thought had a great tournament. Haji Wright comes on for Weston McKennie, who was reportedly just gutting it out through his some sort of soft tissue injury, lower body, the whole tournament. I don't think went 90 in any of the games. So I thought he did great as well for not being 100%. And then right before the U.S. makes a move or, gets on the board here, Yedlin came in for Sergiño Dest. And I thought that was like Dest, I think, was probably spent. But he was also like maybe our best player out there in that match outside of Matt Turner.
It's like it comes down to like, you want 60% of Dest or do you want a full Yedlin?
Yeah, and it's fucking close there.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean it would have been a prayer no matter what. You just kind of reach for straws there.
Well, they grabbed a straw, I guess you could say. When Pulisic puts it into the box and Haji Wright kind of trips over the ball, and it goes in.
I don't think I've ever seen a goal like that. Yeah.
I saw people comparing that goal apparently to it reminded a lot of people of Gyasi Zardes and his time with the national team. So there was a comparison there. And guess what? While I may not like Haji Wright for our national team, I would love to have Haji Wright in Austin. So I'm still every bit as excited about the potential of bringing Gyasi Zardes here. And then, 5 minutes later, just to rub our face in it, Dumfries gets his goal, this time assisted by Daley Blind. 3-1, it's out of reach. And, the human white flag, Jordan Morris subbed on in the 92nd for Anthony Robinson. That's just insult to injury there. To watch Jordan Morris come on. I do think for what was, I think, the third match in a row, I said it with England, I said it with the Iran match. The XG here, I thought, told the story better than the 3-1 scoreline. 1.67 XG for the Netherlands, 1.49 for the U.S. You mentioned the chances the U.S. had. They outshot the Netherlands 17-11 and also had more big chances, I believe, which was, 4-3. Obviously, the U.S. missed 3 of those, what is qualified as big chances on FOTMOB. So, again, I thought the U.S. played well, even though the scoreline and like the emotions of watching the game were more down than up because of the early goal, because of the late first half goal, and then the immediate counter to the U.S., putting one on the board. The Netherlands absolutely deserve to go through. I will be cheering for them going forward. I don't necessarily think they're going to win the whole thing, but if you're going to go out, you like to go out to the champs. So
Yeah.
I'll be cheering on the Dutch going forward. Any kind of last thoughts on the match? Or I also wanted to touch on, you said, second youngest team at the tournament, and we're hosting 4 years from now. So we're in, we don't have to qualify. I guess any last thoughts on this match, this cup, and then looking forward to the next cup and maybe what you think the baseline should be?
I mean, for me, I'm hoping that this cup is just a nice little building block for this team come 4 years from now. And something we can look back on and be like, yeah, you got to take your bumps and bruises, and we did. And you got to learn from it and hopefully get better. So I hope that's what the trajectory of this team is. And, it's going to be a long 4 years until they get to rep the colors again. But that's the name of the game. And, you got 4 years to get better.
Yeah, and there's other competitions that we'll be able, we've got Gold Cup coming up, we've got Nations League, all that stuff. So we'll be able to watch plenty of U.S. men's national team between now and then. And it is kind of nice to not have to go through qualifying, although I don't think this team would pull a 2018 and miss. Just having the 100%, you're playing the first match in 2026. And it is really like 3.5 years until the next one, because we're doing this dumb winter shit, which actually, like, schedule wise, I haven't hated too much. Like, to have this at the end of the MLS season, like, interrupt every other league in the world and don't interrupt MLS. I love it.
Okay.
So, we'll see them in the summer of 2026. I don't think I have much to add except just piggybacking on what you said. Very satisfied with what the team did. I think, to me, the baseline was knockout stage. They got that done. And I think next go round, especially with, like you said, like the age of this team, we're going to have essentially the same core of players here, with hopefully some exciting up and coming younger guys filling in some of the spots that are vacated between now and 2026 that we couldn't possibly begin to predict now. At least you and I, maybe some of those people who know more about the prospects. But yeah, I think for me, man, like, we talked last time, we know the Dos Acero in 2002, right? United States in that quarterfinal is the furthest they've made it. I think, to me, a quarterfinal appearance is the new baseline.
Okay.
Because this team, like, we have to build on what we just did with this young team. 4 years from now, a lot of these guys should be in their primes. And I think that is the time. And it needs to be, at the very least, tied with our longest run ever, especially because we're going to have, at minimum, 3 home matches.
Yeah.
Right. So, take advantage of the home field,
sure.
Take advantage of being in the friendly confines and just hold there's going to be a lot of matches for this team between now and then, but keep this tournament in mind. And this team, every single one of you guys belonged and competed and succeeded to a certain level. Right.
Yeah.
And just keep that in mind going forward. And I can't wait to watch them again in 4 years.
Same.
Last thing on the World Cup, I guess 2 more things. The coaching staff, Greg Berhalter, all his assistants, out of contract. Do you extend them?
Oh. Yeah.
I think I agree. And I there's a lot of people calling for Greg to be done now.
Why?
And I don't think I'd be super upset if he was, but they didn't disappoint. They did not disappoint.
What coach are you getting that takes that team? Who could you possibly have at the helm? That you're not going to be able to make up that much of a talent gap. Yeah, with a fantastic coach.
I think I pretty much agree with you there. So I guess I'm kind of indifferent. Like, if they bring somebody else in, fine. But I don't think that, at least in my eyes, this team did anything. They didn't underachieve. And to me, that's usually how you should judge a coach and their staff. I don't, and the grass isn't always greener too. So yeah. And we were on shaky ground a little bit with the loss and a draw, I think. I don't remember which order. Saudi Arabia, Japan, before, those were kind of our last 2 tune-up matches before they went to Qatar.
But I mean, there were no slouches.
I was just about to say, now you look at Japan, Saudi Arabia, pretty fucking good teams, had a good showing at the Cup. So, I think I guess we should maybe remember going forward for next time. Don't read too much into the pre-tournament friendlies, especially if they don't go your way. So we've got 8 teams left here, as Portugal has finished demolishing Switzerland 6-1.
Holy shit!
6-1. Yeah, they did not let their foot off the gas. Even once. No, he did not. So you had 3 from Ramos, 1 from Pepe there on the back line, 33rd minute. I know AG would be pumped for that. Guerrero and Leao in the 90th minute, rubbing dirt in the wound. So now we've got 2 quarterfinal matches on Friday, 2 on Saturday, both at 9 a.m., 1 p.m. Central. Croatia and Brazil, Netherlands and Argentina, Morocco and Portugal. Morocco pulling off the upset over Spain this morning. That match was fun. Bono, the Moroccan keeper, putting on his best Stuver. 3 saves in a row against the Spanish there. And then the final quarterfinal match will be England and France. So I guess out of those 8 teams that are left, who do you see coming out on top?
I mean, I picked Argentina at the beginning, so I think I'm going to keep rocking with them. Obviously, there's some really, really good teams in there.
Yeah.
Brazil looks amazing. Same thing with France. Yeah, it's going to be fun, as it always is.
Yeah, I had Brazil before the tournament. They're still in, so I'll stick with Brazil. And I guess we may be getting a Brazil-Argentina showdown in the Final Four. I think both of those teams that play on the same day, or those games that play on the same day, I guess I should say, will face each other in the semifinals. The semifinals, first one, yeah, that makes sense. So winner of Croatia and Brazil will play the winner of Netherlands and Argentina on Tuesday, 1 p.m. Central. Winner of Morocco and Portugal will play the winner of England and France on Wednesday. And I think we are going to hold off until next Thursday for our next pod because it's somebody's birthday next Wednesday. So I will give you a pre happy birthday. It has been a good year. It has been a couple good months for us on the pod. Obviously, a great season for us to share at Austin FC. And I look forward to being good buddies for many years going forward. So happy birthday, my friend.
Thanks, man. That was really nice.
Well, and I guess let's close the pod out. Maybe I can say some not so nice things to you here. Less likely since we're talking football, American football instead of basketball, but I did want to get your take on a few NFL news items, and primarily just one, because I think we probably have a decent contingent of people listening here. If you are an NFL fan, you're probably likely to be a Cowboys fan living in Texas. Neither of us are, but we'll talk Cowboys nonetheless. First, the rumor is that Odell Beckham is nearing a decision. He was at the Mavs game last night with, I believe, Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons. How do you feel, as an outsider, you're not a Cowboys fan, but how do you feel about Odell Beckham being added to this Cowboys roster, potentially?
I think a league that has OBJ in it is a better league than when OBJ is not in it. Sure. He's a super fun player. He plays really hard. I've always liked the guy. Big soccer guy, actually. For those
he is a big soccer.
Super talented soccer player. But yeah, they're already pretty scary, pretty dangerous. Got a lot of weapons. You throw that in the mix, I don't know how. It's impossible to take away all of their weapons at that point. If you're looking at Pollard, Zeke, CD, Schultz, Gallup. Yeah.
Who seems like he's coming back to normal almost from his injury.
Yeah. No, that's a formidable team. And, they would need it if they want to keep pace with the Eagles and keep the other two teams in that conference or division off their heels.
Yeah, I think we can talk kind of about that division because I don't think anybody, and this is like a super cliche thing to say. I think a lot of people will see something crazy that happens. Oh, I didn't have that on my bingo card, but I tell you, if I had a bingo card, it did not have the NFC East being the best division in the NFL on it. I believe by virtue of record, the Commanders currently a half game out of the playoffs, but a Seahawks loss this week and a Commanders win could literally put the playoff picture with 4 of the 7 NFC teams, all from the NFC East. So I guess let's these teams are going to cannibalize each other a little bit here down the stretch. All 4 teams have between 2 and 3 division games remaining. Clearly the 2 favorites here are the Eagles and the Cowboys, and they may be the 2 favorites, not just in the NFC, but like potentially in the league. Both teams are very, very strong.
Mm-hmm.
We both had the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Do you think that the Cowboys are going to be the ones that take them down, or do you think the Eagles still get through? Because like the Eagles are, I mean, no Dallas Goedert for the foreseeable future for them. That's a weapon taken away from Jalen Hurts. You know, and you look at these 2 teams, what plus 112 point differential for the Eagles, plus 127 for the Cowboys. Both defenses are fantastic. Both offenses are elite. I'm starting to come around to the idea, especially if you're adding Beckham to this Cowboys offense. You saw what he did coming in mid-season with the Rams last year, going all the way to the Super Bowl and coming out with a victory, even though that's where he tore his ACL, was in that Super Bowl win, I think, after catching a touchdown.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if it's smart to say that Odell is the one that's going to put them over the top, but I was trending towards being more on the Cowboys bandwagon. That, you know, that's not a bandwagon I like to be on. Like, I very much enjoy the schadenfreude of watching all the Cowboys fans in my life go through pain every single year. But man, they look great right now, and I really think they're going to threaten the Eagles here.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, even without OBJ, you get into a situation in the NFL playoffs, it's win and go home, and you can lose any given Sunday, Al Pacino. No, yeah, I mean, they're super talented. I would not be shocked if they beat the Eagles. It is shaping up to be a Cowboys-esque season, though, where, you know, they get everybody's hopes up that they can do this, sign OBJ, and then, you know, maybe you have a first-round exit at the end of the Giants. You know, nonetheless,
right.
you could be
Talk about pain.
them losing in the first round of the Giants or the Commanders, just as much as I could see them beating the Eagles. So,
yeah, I agree there. I guess the last thing I'll say here about the NFL before we just go ahead and get out of here, we're coming up on an hour now. The Niners caught a tough break. Obviously, Trey Lance started the season as their starting quarterback. He went out pretty early. They were very lucky to have hung on to Jimmy Garoppolo, but now Jimmy G is hurt, out 7 to 8 weeks at the minimum. And there was rumors with Baker Mayfield, the Lake Travis quarterback, Oklahoma quarterback, former first-round pick, former Cleveland Brown,
Heisman
Trophy winner, was cut by the Panthers after he lost his starting job to former XFL legend PJ. What was his last name? Walker. PJ Walker. And so I guess the consensus was, okay, well, now the Niners are going to go after Baker, right? Because there's I don't know if I can call Baker a competent quarterback at this point, but a quarterback with some upside, and probably the best one you've got on the quote unquote scrap heap in December of an NFL season. I don't know if you saw this while we were recording. Baker Mayfield was claimed off of waivers by by the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, not that I saw that, but when I saw the waiver priority order.
Okay. I didn't see the priority list.
I knew San Fran wasn't going to get him. And one of the things that was on there was, do you see a division rival blocking San Fran from getting him in? And there you go. You have, I think the Rams were 9th on the waiver priority, 7th maybe. But the Seahawks were also in there. So they had 2 chances to get sniped. So this is like some real life fantasy football. You're in a draft or you're going for somebody with your free agency budget, and then some dickhead
comes in with $49 for CJ Anderson.
Picks up Baker Mayfield. I mean, for the Niners, just some brutal. I don't know what, since something's in that water. They all got osteoporosis. I don't know what is going on, but regardless of what you think of Baker, for the trajectory of that team to have somebody who has actual NFL starting quarterback experience and is still not, 38 years old. You fucking need him when your only active quarterback is Mr. Irrelevant. I thought he looked good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, and then only heard that 38 times Sunday. So, but, it's the NFL. They got tape on him now. So let's see what he does next week.
Maybe opening the door for the Seahawks to win that division, which is crazy. Is that going to go down? Is the Russell Wilson trade, and I promise we'll get out of here on this one, is the Russell Wilson trade going to go down as the worst American professional sports trade, at least like in the 21st century? They're paying him through 2026. It's like 30, 40, $50 million a year. Let me look up that deal, but it's insanely bad.
One comes to my mind, and I think it will be a good one to get out of here on. And the Los Angeles Clippers gave up like 30 first-round draft picks to get Kawhi Leonard, and the guy doesn't even play. So he's played 5 or 6 games this year.
Hey, take it easy.
They lost SGA in that deal.
Look. Kawhi can't control. He's not the GM. He's not the GM. And did you see that he came back and played and hit the fucking game winner? He fucking hit the game winner the other night. Take it easy on my guy.
It wasn't hey, do you think Russ forced the GM to trade him? He wasn't the GM. Yeah, I know that. At this point, though, he spends more time in the office than on the court. So, who's looking for a sporting director? LAFC.
LA Galaxy. Well, they got an interim.
He wants to be in LA. Perfect. Uncle Dennis, 38 steps ahead of people.
So, Russell Wilson, by the way, it's the dead cap hit in 2026 if they were to cut him is $31 million.
It's so bad. I saw some stats yesterday on him where it was like it was just baffling.
Yeah. Well, it's like
and the crazy
it
just looks like the whole team hates him.
Yeah, hates him.
And it's like I was a fan of the dude when he came out of college.
Mm-hmm, I agree.
I liked him. When he transferred, he had a great season, and then I loved him when the Seahawks drafted him. I was all over him.
Well, he was an underdog, right?
Yeah, and we disagree. We have disagreeing, lifestyle, religion choices.
Sure.
And that is what it is. But I don't take that into account of what type of football player he is.
Right.
Or
and teammate.
Even with that being said, it wasn't like he was an asshole to people, or that shit wasn't coming out initially.
Right.
The only thing you heard was, "Oh, he's not black enough," which was just some strange media, caveat that they were talking about when he was with the Seahawks and how Sherman had this beef with him because of that. And it's like, well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking bad. And it doesn't look like it's going to get better anytime soon.
Dude, that's 4 fucking seasons from now.
I was actually, because I'm Reddit guy, so I don't know how, but I end up in weird subreddits sometimes. Yeah. I was in the Broncos sub this morning, and they were all like, "I told my 6-year-old boy that he's not going to be, he's going to have to be 20 years old before our team's going." It's like my child didn't understand.
Oh my God. Well, I feel for those Broncos fans. At least they've got some championships in their past, so that they'll be all right. For what it's worth, Adam Schefter did just tweet that the 49ers did not put in a waiver claim for Baker. So that's interesting.
It's worth literally nothing. But all
right. They're confident in their guy Brock Purdy. So I guess that'll do it for us here. We appreciate you tuning in, listening through all of the, soccer talk, most of which you probably tuned in for. And, if you made it this far, you got through the NFL segment, which you probably did not tune in for, but we appreciate you tuning in nonetheless. And we'll be back next week, probably next Thursday. So a little over a week between pods here, but we will come back for episode 21, our Tim Duncan episode. I can't wait for that one. I think we'll have to talk Spurs a little bit, just in honor of the sixth best basketball player of all time. Tim Duncan. Maybe we can talk top 10 lists.
We'll get that list next episode.
Yeah. If you've got 5 seconds to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, wherever you get your pods or on YouTube, we would greatly appreciate it. Trying to grow our channels, and, grow our roots, grow our legend, so to speak, in the Austin FC community. We would greatly appreciate it. So for E, I'm Zach. Until next time, everybody, vamos Austin FC. Goodbye.
3, 2, 1.